Greetings. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Climate and Infrastructure Committee for October 24th, 2024. I'm Katie Cashman. I'm the chair of this committee. Before we begin, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. And we ask all speakers to moderate the speed and the clarity of their comments. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll to verify presence of a quorum.
Is the camera on?
Yeah.
Good question. There it is. All right.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Osman is absent. Chavez.
Present.
Chowdhury.
Present.
Vice Chair Koski.
Present.
Chair Cashman.
Present.
There are 5 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. We'll start with our consent agenda, which are items 2 through 7 on the agenda, as well as item 8, which is a receive and file item with no presentation. Item 2 is approving appropriation and revenue for the 5th Street Transit Center. Item 3 is approving appointments to the Bicycle Advisory Committee. Item 4 is accepting a local road improvement program grant from the Minnesota Department of Transportation for construction of ADA ramps in the Fulton residential project. Item 5 is authorizing last written offers for parcels related to the new Nicollet construction. Item 6 is adopting the annual levy of various Public Works Department special assessments. Item 7 is setting a public hearing for November 7th for an ordinance amending provisions related to boulevards. And additionally, item 8 is receiving and filing the third quarter report of traffic zones, restrictions, and controls. Any discussion on items 2 through 8? Seeing none, I would like to just pull item number 5 for a brief question. And so I'll move approval of items 2 through 7, except number 5. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Those items are approved. Item number 5, I just had a quick question about this following our discussion about it before. And I was wondering if you could just explain briefly what does happen after this last and final written offer on the parcel near Nicollet by the Greenway. What happens if they reject that offer?
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and Council. My name is Josh Weir. I'm with Kennedy and Graven, outside counsel, assisting in the acquisition and the anticipated condemnation. So if the owner does not accept the last written offer, then we would proceed to acquire it through eminent domain. And so this is would basically represent the city's kind of last best foot forward to try to resolve it without the additional cost, transactional cost, and risk associated with eminent domain.
Okay, thanks. Can you explain a little bit what the next steps would be then with eminent domain? And if there's any council role in that?
Certainly. So the council previously, I believe it was a couple of months ago, authorized the acquisitions through either voluntary acquisition or through eminent domain. And so assuming that the owner does not accept the city's last written offer, we would file the condemnation petition in approximately late November of this year. And then, as you may know, Minnesota is a quick take state, and so the city would actually obtain good title and possession of the easement interests in early January of next year, or I'm sorry, March
Okay.
of next year.
Very helpful, thank you. Any other questions on this item? All right, thanks so much. Seeing none, I will move this for approval. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? That motion carries. Next, we'll take up the public hearing item. This item is adopting and levying assessments for sidewalk repair and construction. And here to introduce this is Jeff Handelin from Public Works.
Thank you, Chair Cashman, members of the committee. My name is Jeff Handeland. I'm the Principal Professional Engineer in the Transportation Engineering Design Division of Public Works that oversees the Office of Public Works Special Assessments. Public Works annual inspections of sidewalks resulted in 1,477 addresses where repairs took place in 2023. By city ordinance, property owners are responsible for the sidewalk abutting their property. City ordinance also enables procedures for the city to repair sidewalk and recover the costs through special assessment to the property owners if they have not paid a contractor directly or already reimbursed the city. The process includes an administrative hearing where a hearing officer considers assessment objections and makes decisions prior to this public hearing at your committee today. Public Works and the City Attorney's Office recommend some reductions based on the administrative hearings. Those reductions are accounted for in the draft resolution before you today. Reductions were generally based on an irregularity in our process for 2023 sidewalk repair communication, and we've already improved our process for communication for sidewalk repairs performed in 2024. The total amount to be assessed is $1,232,587.92. Public Works recommendation is to pass the resolution before you and adopt and levy the special assessments. I will stay nearby in case there are any questions.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, Mr. Handelin. I'll now open the public hearing. There's nobody who's signed up. If you did come to speak on this item, please come up for your 2 minutes of testimony. All right, seeing no speakers on this item, I'll close the public hearing and ask if there's any questions from committee members. Wonderful. Well, thanks for the presentation. Seeing no questions or comments, I'll move approval of this item. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. So next we'll take up our first discussion item today, which is a response to the Zero Waste Programming Legislative Directive related to an analysis of the impacts of the closure of the HERC. And just as a reminder, we passed a legislative directive earlier this year that had 7 detailed questions about our zero waste programming, about the health impacts of the HERC, and this is the final question number 7 on that legislative directive. So welcoming Kelly Kish here from Solid Waste and Recycling to give a presentation.
Alrighty, thank you, Chair Cashman and committee members. As the chair had mentioned, my name is Kelly Kish. I am the recycling coordinator in the Public Works Division of Solid Waste and Recycling. I'm happy to be here today to share information, the final Zero Waste Legislative Directive, Item 7 with you. So just a quick recap. Back on August 22nd, we gave an overview of the residential, commercial, and waste and recycling systems here in the city. Talked a little bit about some barriers towards waste diversion, an overview of the zero waste strategies that are included in the Climate Legacy Plan and also in the Climate Legacy Initiative funding in the mayor's draft budget, and then provided a summary of a couple different bills that were very key in the 2024 state legislative session. Then in October, the air impacts of HERC were presented by health department staff. And then also presented at that meeting was the public comment period for the HERC resolution, and then also a zero waste landscape analysis that was completed by the city's policy and research team. So again, today I'm here to address the final item of the Zero Waste Legislative Directive, and that's going to include some benchmarking, waste reduction and diversion information, an overview of policy, programmatic, and operational support needed, and then a high-level fiscal analysis related to a HERC closure. So before I get started, I just, again, want to really quick recap what was shared back at the August 22nd meeting, that our residential system here in Minneapolis is organized and Solid Waste and Recycling has control over the various materials that are collected and where they go, and control over all of the education and outreach for our residential customers. And our residential sector waste makes up approximately 22% of what the total waste received at HERC each year. The commercial program, on the other hand, is an open system, which means individual businesses or large apartment buildings, industrial buildings, can choose to contract with whichever hauler they would like, and those haulers are able to bring their waste to any facilities of their choosing. With all of these various options, the city has very little control over receiving data from that system or where much of that material is going and how it is managed. Waste from the commercial sector in Minneapolis makes up approximately 53% of all total waste that goes to the HERC facility each year. So I also shared this slide back in August, and this is a lovely little overview of some of the various different programs and policies that have been adopted within solid waste and recycling for the residential programs. And I just wanted to include this again to reiterate that having some amount of control over the system and dedicated funding has, one, allowed us to implement these programs, but also has allowed us to track the effectiveness of them and actually see measurable reduction of waste being managed as trash. And even with all of the programs and efforts that we have done to date, this information on the slide is from our 2022 capture rate study of single-family homes. Over 60% of the garbage that we find in actual garbage, over 60% of the material we find in garbage carts at our residential homes should have been managed in a different way, through either recycling or composting or being brought to a drop-off location. That leaves our overall capture rate. And a capture rate is, again, the percent of material that is traditionally recyclable or compostable, what percent of that was put in the right cart to be diverted at 27.5%. So even with all of our programs, policies, ongoing education and outreach, there is still a lot of opportunities for improvement, even in our well-established residential program. So moving on now to today's legislative directive and benchmarking of the commercial sector. We've presented some of these needs in the past, and they remain true and now are further solidified by some of the information received from the zero waste landscape analysis. But we do need to have some form of control over the commercial system to be able to get additional data and have that data be useful to us in implementing more effective programs. Organization of some sort of a commercial system would not only allow us to get the data, but can also be a funding mechanism in and of itself for those efforts. And then, of course, to be able to have ongoing programs is the need for an ongoing funding mechanism. I've included this quote from the city of Seattle because I think it holds true for waste-related policies, that essentially policies can be effectively meaningless if not resourced and enforced. Policy alone is not going to do it. It needs to be followed with ongoing resources for effective implementation, and that includes periods of elevated investment. I think we definitely do a very good job at the implementation of new policies, but I think we have room for improvement on the periods of increased investment with some of the city's existing ordinances. So moving from benchmarking into action, the policies and programs that we have identified in the Zero Waste Plan still are all very applicable to the entire waste sector here in the city. Each strategy in the Zero Waste Plan has an implementation timing associated with it from a near, mid, and far term. It identifies ongoing costs to the city as low, medium, or high, and it discusses the diversion potential also from a low, medium, to high range. And when the Zero Waste Plan was developed, the team involved purposely did not choose to come up with actual dollars associated with each component because costs are going to fluctuate widely. And at that time, there was no dedicated funding mechanism to implement any of the strategies outside of the residential sector. So we wanted to make sure that the plan was going to be useful moving into the future. So additionally, to evaluating the right strategy at the right time, using items from the Zero Waste Plan and the Comp Plan and the Climate Equity Plan, we need to continue to push for state law changes that support waste reduction and reuse as state level changes have the ability to affect a higher level than the city does. For example, on manufacturing. Manufacturing requirements or the ability to implement things like disposal bans or mandatory diversion requirements. The city can use our voice to help make those bigger systematic changes that will benefit us and others in Minnesota. And then I did also want to point out that the ultimate goal in waste and recycling world is not actually recycling and composting. It's how do we get people to not create waste in the first place, or waste reduction. Additionally to that is, since we have waste that is here, how do we keep it from becoming waste, and how do we incorporate it continuously within the system? That is more often referred to as circular economy. I chose to include these statements from the cities of Phoenix, San Francisco, Boulder, and Seattle from the Zero Waste Landscaping Analysis in this presentation, as like we also here in Minneapolis in solid waste and recycling have started to shift our focus from just the traditional diversion metrics or recycling and composted to looking more at other measurement metrics. One of those, for example, would be the total pounds per capita generated or the pounds per household created. This is a metric that we can easily measure year over year based on the collection weights that we receive each and every day. And a decrease in total pounds per household collected means that people are actually reducing what they are buying and or what they are disposing, which gets us to that ultimate goal of not creating waste in the first place. The other measurement, a capture rate, is what we completed in 2022, the study that actually evaluates what percentage of the total material made it into the proper cart or, say, drop-off location to be managed not as trash, is another metric that we have started using. And a challenge to a capture rate measurement is that they are costly and they are very time-consuming to calculate. So not only are we starting to track things differently and looking more over at that total waste generation, but we're also have been and continue now more than ever to be supporting and promoting waste reduction and reuse efforts. This past year, our office worked very closely with the health department and homegrown team to develop a series of prevention of wasted food resources for food establishments. We continuously promote local exchange sites like Buy Nothing groups and encourage more and more activity to happen through various swaps through the Hennepin County Fix-It clinics and encouraging people to donate items to secondhand stores. And then this year we have a Minnesota Green Corps member whose work plan is also almost entirely focused on reuse. She is starting a project on Monday next week where we're going to be evaluating the large furniture type pieces that are put directly in the back of our garbage trucks for a reuse option, looking at a brand new city internal reuse program, looking at materials brought to our transfer station and what reuse potential we have of the items that are currently received. And then lastly, we know we need the community support and buy-in in this, and a portion of her time will also be allocated towards working directly with our neighborhood and community groups to empower and encourage them to host their own reuse events within their neighborhoods. So we do feel that the Climate Legacy Initiative budget request of just under $300,000 for zero waste efforts will help us move forward on these items that are needs to actually move the needle closer to zero waste. That funding would allow us to hire a consultant to do a study of an ongoing funding mechanism where the money would be able to be used for any sector. And we also want to not only work with neighborhood and community groups, but we want to be able to empower them financially through a grant program to come up with unique and innovative ways to actually reduce waste that's going to work best in their neighborhood. So that is what is in the Climate Legacy Initiative Zero Waste budget request. And then while we are eager and ready to move forward, it is important to reiterate that achieving zero waste is much more challenging than just providing outreach education and infrastructure for diversion. We do really need larger systemic changes to manufacturing and individual purchasing and consumption habits. So it's a lot more difficult than just getting people to put things in the right cart. As I noted, the EPR for packaging bill passed at the state. That's really going to help us get closer. However, we still have these bigger individual barriers to overcome of our convenience-based society, our hyperconsumption. There's a lot of public distrust that recyclables are actually being recycled. And then the slow adaptability of our manufacturing and waste management systems is another huge barrier. It takes years to just change one little label on a bottle or change the type of plastic a cap is made out of. It takes years to get a new piece of equipment installed at a facility to be able to do X, Y, or Z. So these barriers, again, address why we need to be using our voice at the state level to support more funding, more programs, and more initiatives that will help Minnesota as a whole be able to better manage our waste. And so I'm going to take this one little step further on the behavior change example. When we looked at our capture rate data from 2022 and calculated it out citywide, we are collecting 3.4 truckloads of clothing each and every day. We own 60% more clothes than we did 50 years ago, and we wear them half as often. How clothing is made these days makes it very difficult to collect and recycle. So with looking at the fashion industry as a whole, it's much, much more than just the impact on waste. Its impact also reaches as far as global pollution overall, carbon emissions overall, water consumption, poor working conditions, and human rights violations for staff there. So again, this hints at, it's just one example of how do we as a society start to acknowledge and make the change to not buy the $5 t-shirt and buy the t-shirt that is better made, more locally made, more sustainably made. It's just one example, but we need behavior change, not just on clothing, but on our single-use coffee cups, on our each and everyday behaviors, as eventually pretty much everything, unfortunately, leads to waste. All right, so the last piece of the legislative directive is the fiscal analysis of what a HERC closure will mean. And so we know now, even more so, maybe a lot more about some of the challenges ahead around behavior change to get us to zero waste. But there's one thing that we really still just don't know, and that's the cost. So right now, if you look on a Minneapolis utility bill, which there's a screenshot there, waste is already the highest dollar amount on that bill. And we do know that the cost will go up from managing material as trash at HERC versus shipping it to a landfill, but we do not know what that cost is going to be. A big barrier to that is that all the material that currently is going to the HERC facility will need to be transferred via transfer stations. There is only one in Minneapolis that takes commercial waste, and it is privately owned. The two other transfer stations in the city are both solid waste, owned by Solid Waste and Recycling, or owned by the city, one of which is an existing residential drop-off site. The other is going to be a brand new residential drop-off site with the help of a US EPA grant we received last year. And so HERC currently sets the rate for what trash is in the region, and without it, we do not know what the private contractors are going to do for transferring or for landfilling costs. So the other thing we do not know is if garbage rate changes are actually going to result in a change in people putting the right things in the right carts, or the bigger picture of behavior change and reducing waste generated in the first place. So the very last thing in the legislative directive was asking for proposed changes or policy implementations. And these items on the slide directly correlate to the city's adopted plans and information from other communities in the zero waste landscape analysis. These actions, along with the projects identified in the Climate Legacy Initiative funding, will put us on the right path for larger programmatic changes to reduce waste in the next several years. And they are to, again, support state-level programs and policies, have a conversation and evaluation of some form of control in the commercial, multifamily, and industrial sector, make amendments to and have active enforcement of existing city ordinances related to waste requirements, and then to really involve and engage with the community on what they see are the next steps and the next best changes to get their buy-in to fully participate in a zero waste system. And that is all I have. Oh, I missed my last slide. There's supposed to be a thank you slide, and I am happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly, for the presentation. I do have a few questions for you, but I'll first see if there's any other members who want to jump in. Okay, so one of your last slides, just as a clarifying question, it said like zero waste CIM group. Can you spell out what that is?
Yep, so Chair Cashman, committee members, ZW is zero waste, and CIM is commercial, industrial, multifamily.
Commercial, industrial, multifamily. So what was that work group, and what was going on there?
Back when the zero waste plan was being developed, and actually prior to that, there was a commercial waste evaluation that was done that we had different industry stakeholder groups assembled to get their feedback prior to finalizing both the commercial plan as well as the zero waste plan itself.
And who was part of that group?
There were a variety of haulers, some larger businesses, some business associations. So it's definitely a group, should it be reconvened, to have a broader net to invite more people into that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. Slide 5 was about just over the years, like what percentage of waste is going to which destinations. And there's a landfill category, and then there's the waste to energy category. And one thing that's been really interesting for me to learn throughout this is that a waste to energy system like the HERC is not landfill free. That actually 10 to 30% of what's burned at the HERC still goes to landfill in the form of ash. So I'm wondering if you can show us on that graph, like, is the landfill category inclusive of that ash that's coming from HERC, and is it then kind of counted twice?
Yes, thank you for that question, Chair Cashman. Actually, the landfill portion of HERC waste is not on this table at all. This is showing as the city delivered the material to the different facilities.
Okay, that is helpful.
So the 3% or 2.6% that was landfilled in 2023 is actually non-recyclable building material from the South Transfer Station.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I do see a few really big opportunities in our zero waste policy, and that largely is like some form of control over the commercial sector that we currently can't do anything about. And then secondly is expanding composting services to multifamily. For the first one, the commercial sector, I know you said that state legislative changes would be really helpful here. And can you give a little bit more detail around what types of legislative changes would need to happen to give us some of that control?
So thank you for that question as well. The attorney's office has been looking at that, and there are staff at the state who are also looking at to determine if and what exactly the changes would need to be. At this point, I can't confidently say that changes do need to happen in the state statute. So that I think will be something we'll follow up on with you on afterwards.
Okay, thank you. On the second piece and this expansion of our services to multifamily households, but also just in line with the, the general funding that you've asked for that's in the 2025 recommended budget, it's only at 300,000. I say only because I know that that's not going to be enough to develop the programs necessary to do this work. Do you have a ballpark estimate about what it would cost for us to get down to our to have the programs necessary to get to our zero waste goals?
I regret to inform you I do not. I will, however, take the opportunity to note that Hennepin County does have ongoing grant funding for businesses and multi-units to add or improve recycling or organics programs. And in terms of a business or a multi-unit property, the ongoing costs are really not that much to add organics. So having the ability to get those programs promoted more widely and get some additional buy-in from management companies, I think can go a long way, or resident pressure to encourage their property to add an organics recycling program is something that could be done without additional budgetary dollars.
That's really helpful to know. Okay, those are the questions that I have. Are there any other questions from committee members? Since we have our solid waste and recycling expert in front of us, Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Chair Cashman, and thank you, Ms. Kish, for your presentation and multiple presentations to this committee. Really appreciate your work on this legislative directive. One of the questions that I had kind of harkens back to the presentation that you gave on the 22nd. I'll note that you shared benchmarking the commercial sector and needing complete data. Could you refresh us on kind of the compliance or lack of compliance that we've been seeing around hauler reporting and the requirements around their licensing?
Yes, Councilmember Chowdhury, committee, thank you for that. After the August 22nd meeting, I did have a meeting with CPED staff and involved the Pollution Control Agency staff as well, who work on the hauler reporting at the state level. And CPED staff had acknowledged that within the hauling license here at the city, it is a requirement that haulers comply with all state and federal laws. And since hauler reporting at the state level is not being submitted by certain haulers, that they were going to start reaching out. First and foremost, they were going to start getting more timely reports from the Pollution Control Agency hauler reporting staff on who has and who has not submitted that reporting. So that CPED could then send letters to those haulers who have not submitted the reporting, noting that they are not in compliance with the state law and therefore could potentially be at risk for a fine for not following state law.
And do you know if they have been fined in the past, or like how large or burdensome that fine currently is offhand?
Councilmember Chowdhury, I have that in an email, but I do not have that on the top of my head, and that would probably be more appropriate for the business licensing staff at CPED to answer.
Okay, through the chair, if it's okay if we note that for administrative follow-up, I think that's just kind of good to know what the history around that's been, especially since one of the rising themes out of our conversation in zero waste is controlling the system around commercial. And then the next question related to the commercial industry and construction industry. I know you noted that like the percentage, I think the 2.3% that ended up going to landfill was like non-recyclable materials in that industry. Is there a requirement under our city code for construction recycling, commercial recycling that exists?
So, Councilmember, there is not a requirement around building material recycling. There are several older reports that have been completed years ago around what barriers and opportunities exist. And CPED staff are also looking at that as a topic to bring back up in the next couple of years here. I will also note that at the state level, there is a effort to potentially have some sort of statewide requirement for a certain percentage of material diverted or recycled from large building construction projects. And that's something that I'd be happy to follow up on the status with and get back to your office.
Thank you. Yeah, I've actually surprisingly received a handful of constituent engagement on, like, we see these buildings going up and construction's happening, and bringing forward waste concerns, and seeing if we have any requirements there. I know one of the suggestions within the presentation in general is mandatory recycling. Could you speak a little bit more to what that means and looks like, and what potential challenges are to that?
Yeah, so in the slide around resident engagement on mandatory recycling, recycling for any customer of solid waste and recycling is actually voluntary. And only about 3% of our customers do not have a recycling cart. So it is very specifically related to making recycling mandatory within the residential program as kind of a base step to getting people more involved in participating in waste diversion programs, because it's kind of a little bit, but still a big step for those who are not participating. The city does have a multi-unit recycling ordinance that requires all multi-units to offer recycling to the tenants of the property. And the city's commercial recycling ordinance requires all commercial buildings to have recycling. So there's a little, kind of a little loophole in the ordinance around having recycling and or participating for the lower units that solid waste and recycling provides service to.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then I'll just make a comment. That initial slide, just kind of looking at what residential trash looks like. It's a really good image. It just showcases that about 66% of what's going into the trash can be diverted. And then the 33% that's left over is what we have to reduce and consider. And there's a lot of behavior change, societal changes, systemic changes around that I appreciated your discussion on. Something that I'm interested in learning a little bit more about is what is the city's role been looking like when it comes to actually sorting the trash after it's been collected? And if there's been discussions in the past or currently about that.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember. The city currently does not do any sorting of trash after it's collected. The state of Minnesota's Metropolitan Solid Waste Management Plan does have a requirement for counties to evaluate pulling certain recyclable materials out of the trash, I believe, by 2030. So it is possible that moving forward that we may have to bring our garbage to a specific location where Hennepin County then has worked to have that process set up.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think it would be quite difficult if it was all on the city to figure out sorting. So looking at the county and other jurisdictional support for future around that, I was just reading a lot about how some communities abroad have some pretty dedicated sorting work that happens, and was really interested about that. And just fun fact that I realized when I was going to Twin Stadium for baseball games, I was actually super frustrated because it's like, wait, where's the compost? This is being told to be recycling, but everyone's like putting in the potato chip bags in the recycling, and I'm like, how is that gonna work? And I found out after the fact, all of the people who collect the waste and then hand sort it. Which is pretty amazing. Okay, well, that concludes my comments. Really appreciate the presentation. Obviously, we have our work cut out for us. And I think it's important that we are setting the stage to put a lot of pressure in order to make systemic change and behavioral change, because I don't think without the pressure and the urgency, it's gonna be possible for us to do it in the city, with the county, with the state, and just really lead. And I know our state has been a leader in so many areas in the nation, so this is one area I think we can definitely rise to the occasion. So, thank you, and thank you, Chair.
Okay, anybody, any other questions from committee members on this presentation? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Kelly, for the presentation. I'll direct the clerk to receive and file that report. And next, we're going to take up the HERC resolution that that I authored with 7 other council members, and that has been available on LIMS for, I think, a month now, and that we had a public hearing on last committee meeting. And I just want to speak a little bit to why I authored the resolution and why we're taking on this issue. We've spent a lot of time on solid waste in this committee this year. The resolution calls for shutting down the HERC trash incinerator. The city has not taken that position yet, and we're taking that position as a city council. It calls for waste management solutions that do not involve either landfilling or burning of our trash. Our city's goal is to recycle and compost 80% of our waste by 2030. State's goal is 75% of waste by 2030, and we're not on track. And I believe that the HERC is part of enabling us to not think about our waste, to not think about where it's ending up. And given how much we consume as a society, it's a serious challenge to reduce and divert our waste when the sheer amount of materials in our life, and specifically single-use materials in our lives, continues to grow. We are seeking a circular economy that's one of sharing, repairing, reusing, and recycling, and existing materials as long as possible, and the HERC incinerator is not part of that circular economy, and so we need to shut it down. This, I think, is a challenge we're taking on. There's a lot of tensions and trade-offs involved in this work, but I believe that it's a challenge worth taking on, not only because of the hundreds of community members who have been speaking to us in the last month about the decades of health impacts that they've experienced from this incinerator in their community since it was opened in '89, but also because of the global implications of our supply chains. There are frontline communities across the world, near mines, highways, landfills, factories, et cetera, who are harmed because of our consumption patterns. And so we all play a role in that system. And thinking about our role in this is really what can we do at the local level? And what we can do is invest in zero waste solutions. We can close the harmful facility that's in our own community and make an impact that way, that as a leader in the country, that other cities can also take our lead and do their part. So this resolution is just the start. So committee members can expect more policy discussions, more policy actions, more budget conversations on zero waste in the context of the 2025 budget, policy decisions moving forward in 2025, and a big push at the state legislature this year. It's going to need all hands on deck in order to have the resources and programs that we need to close the HERC facility by the end of this decade. And in our resolution, we're calling on the county to stop burning at the HERC incinerator by 2027. So I will move approval of the resolution today, and I'm also going to call on Councilmember Chowdhury to introduce an amendment to the resolution because there are over 350 jobs associated with the HERC, 45 people who operate the HERC. There are 150 people working in our solid waste and recycling division, and there are 58 haulers who have licenses in the city of Minneapolis, all with workers in their companies. So this resolution and this work really calls for a lot of intentionality as it relates to the workers involved in the solid waste and recycling industry and a just transition to cleaner, greener jobs. So calling on you to introduce this.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Cashman, members of committee. We're bringing this forward together in consultation with labor. We had a pretty good meeting with the building trades. Got into the discussion about the intent of our resolution. And I'll just read out the change for the public so they're aware. It's really just strengthening our commitment to labor and just transition. So it reads, be it further resolved, the Minneapolis City Council supports Hennepin County in developing and implementing a just transition for the labor force currently employed at the HERC and other labor connected to the HERC, ensuring that workers are brought along in the shift towards a carbon-free solid waste management system. It's really key in the way that we have done with our Climate Legacy Initiative, that we continue the work of making sure that labor and the workers that we're going to rely on when it comes to a zero waste future are at the center of the conversation and feel a part of this. I think it's really in the spirit that, again, our city and our state has been leading in, and just happy that we were able to hear from the building trades, have a conversation there to just begin the relationship of the work that we're going to be doing on the council and other jurisdictions. And I'll just share for those in labor who are listening, that's a starting conversation. We know that throughout this process over the years, we're going to need to continue to check in and work together so we can make this possible. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councilmember. Do you want to move that for approval?
Yes, I move that for approval.
All right, thanks. So we're going to take up that amendment first. Any discussion on the amendment? All right, so on the amendment, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, that motion carries. Now we'll take up the resolution as amended. Is there any other discussion from community members before we vote? All right, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries, and that will be forwarded to full council. Our next item is on the traffic safety camera pilot framework. And here to present this item is Ethan Foley from the Vision Zero Program Coordinator.
Hi, Chair Cashman, members of the committee. Ethan Foley, Vision Zero Program Coordinator in Public Works. Great to be back here to share more detail about traffic safety camera pilot. Specifically today, I'm just sharing the details that we outline of what we're calling our framework for the pilot. And this is basically the overview of what's our approach on the pilot. And so these are the sections that you can see that are part of this framework. I'll note that some of this information I shared, at least in some form, when I presented an update on this in July, but adding a few more details in here, but also just pulling it all together in a way that people can see how are we approaching this pilot. There's additional background that I covered around traffic safety cameras in the July 11th presentation. So if folks in the public are interested in that, you can find links here. Within this framework, we're defining the goals for the traffic safety camera pilot, which you can see here. We know that this is coming out of our Vision Zero work, so we're trying to improve traffic safety. We also know that for this pilot to be successful, we also need to build community trust, make sure we're implementing it fairly and equitably, and that we're delivering it efficiently. So we wanted to reflect that clearly in our goals and also kind of how we're measuring and looking at this, that it isn't solely about improving traffic safety, although that's a very important part. Those other pieces are an important part of how we think about this framework as well. There isn't a change to the timeline from what I shared in July. We're still aiming to launch in August of 2025. We do have lots of steps coming up to get to that goal. Obviously, this is part of budgeting conversations, but also we plan to do more community engagement really focused on camera locations starting in February next year. And then we'll have kind of our full camera location analysis coming next summer and other ordinance change and other things just to get ready for the pilot to launch next August. Just a reminder that this continues to be a partnership across multiple city departments, but the council and the mayor also have an important oversight role and scoping role for this work, so which just reflected here on the slide. Public Works is the main kind of coordinator of this pilot, but we have really important collaboration with regulatory services and the attorney's office and others, both internal and external to the city. We are also working to make sure that the traffic safety camera pilot, we're not doing this in a vacuum, right? This is connected to other work we're doing around Vision Zero, our Safe Streets for All project. Received $25 million in federal and state grants to support proactive safety treatments on our high-injury streets and other measures. We have neighborhood traffic calming and other work on traffic calming. This is also connected to, and we think it's important, especially with communications and engagement, that we're connecting this to the overall work of the city around public safety. And we know that this fits in with lots of other things that the city is doing in the community safety ecosystem. And so we are working on making sure that that's connected in here, and that community members, when they want to have information around community safety, that they're able to get that information efficiently, and then also share feedback on that efficiently. So you don't have to go to 5 different meetings in the same week to share feedback on 5 different community safety related things. So we're trying to make sure we coordinate that together. And then we are coordinating, collaborating with other agencies that are working to implement pilots as well, including Mendota Heights, MnDOT, and the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. In terms of camera locations, which I know is an important conversation for many. So reminder that the state law limits us to a maximum of 42 locations during the pilot period. And that we are anticipate launching with about 5 speed safety cameras next year, as I mentioned. And then we would expand from there kind of as we feel we're ready from a implementation standpoint and a capacity standpoint, and we'd add in red light cameras as part of that expansion. Public Works will be the entity that determines the exact number of locations that we're working with, and we'll make sure to report regularly on that to the council as part of our regular reports. And camera locations themselves. So here's a map just showing the first pass of what qualifies as within 2,000 feet of a school or post-secondary institution, which is a requirement in the state law. And so you can see that a large portion of the city, but not the entirety of the city, meets that first requirement in state law. We also have to have them be at locations with an identified traffic safety concern. So we've begun analysis to further understand, where our priority locations, where we see traffic safety concerns, where it might make sense to implement a camera during the pilot period. And I think it's also important I mentioned that there's a study here that we'll be doing that is required as part of state law. And then we also have to make sure we're placing cameras in geographically distinct areas and in multiple communities with differing socioeconomic conditions. That's another state law requirement. And so that'll be part of what we're putting forward in that local study that will be coming next summer. And then we'll be presenting that study back to council, so you can see all those details. I mentioned community engagement. That will focus on informing those camera locations along with the analysis that we're doing of crashes, but also speed and red light running data. Also equity using our transportation equity priority areas. And then at the end of that, we anticipate that study is going to identify 40 to 60 locations that we may pull from for the pilot period. So, for example, during the pilot period, we may never end up using all 42 locations, or we might decide that we want some locations where we move them around a little bit and see how that goes. So all locations that we use during the pilot period have to be identified in this study, and so we do anticipate, trying to have a number to give us some flexibility to serve the full pilot period. And we are evaluating potential locations in all wards of the city. Ultimately, city engineer, Brian Dodds, will be responsible for determining the specific camera locations as kind of operational item. Talk a little bit about community engagement approach. Just a reminder, first of all, on what we've done previously. And our engagement to date has largely focused on getting feedback that allows us to shape the state law. And so, through that, we've also heard generally more support than opposition as we've been doing engagement. So our upcoming engagement, I mentioned we plan to start in February next year. And our key work here is we know there's still a lot of education that needs to happen around this for the public. I'll just say when I have conversations with folks, it's not uncommon for people to have concerns or questions. And then it's also not that common for me to answer those questions and for people to leave saying, I feel a lot more comfortable about this pilot. And so we know that that education is important for us to build trust for this pilot. We also are going to be consulting folks around camera locations, as I mentioned, and specifically involving, so going a little beyond consulting, folks who live near potential camera locations in those decisions, because we know that's important. And that work will all be guided by our racial equity framework for transportation. And as I mentioned, we'll be coordinating engagements with some of the other efforts, including community safety and Safe Streets for All. So I will, next time I come back, we'll share a kind of a summary of more details on the community engagement plan for those that are interested, and that will be publicly available as well. We know that you're interested in this topic, so we are planning to do regular reports, and then there are additional actions yet to come forward through the council and mayor. So you can see a list of those throughout the pilot. Including annual reports once were launched, but then a number of actions beforehand as well. And then just a reminder on use of revenue, which we covered this in the framework as well. It's really important. We've been very intentional with the pilot to design it to improve traffic safety, not to generate revenue. But I'm not naive. It's going to generate some revenue, right? And we don't yet know, is that revenue going to exceed expenses? But it's pretty common in other places that it does a little bit. Now, the state law directs where that revenue has to go, first to implementing the pilot or the operations of it, and then any additional revenue excess to that has to be spent on traffic safety or traffic calming measures. So Public Works will be ensuring that this is met, and we'll be reporting regularly on that as part of our annual reports, so there's transparency around that. So as we've mentioned, we've got a number of upcoming steps, city budgeting coming up. You'll see within that some initial evaluation metrics through the budget process. I want to acknowledge that we will have additional evaluation metrics beyond what's in the kind of the budget framework as well. That'll be coming too. And then we're starting data collection to inform our camera location study. So we'll have more to share on kind of all that. What we found when we started community engagement next February. And then we do anticipate coming back about that same time, early-ish next year, to work on the ordinance change. And just a reminder on the ordinance change, it's primarily making sure that our ordinance aligns with the state law. And so we're just legally covered, have all our bases covered for this pilot. So with that, oops. I also don't have a thank you slide, but with that, thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Foley, for the presentation. Thanks for the briefing as well. Really feel like I have a lot of trust in you in this, and I appreciate all the transparency and information. And I don't have any questions at this time, but want to see if any Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Foley. I think that's the first time I've ever said Mr. Foley. So we've been at this for a long time. We started this work on these cameras, I don't even know how long ago. It's been now well over 10 years. And you talked about like how people are more receptive to it. So I'm wondering, are you still hearing some of the stuff we were hearing back when we had the cameras before, and people were really upset about it, including myself, right? And does it feel like there's a shift in it now, or is there still a lot more education to do around what it was and this pilot phase that we're moving into?
Yeah, Chair Cashman, Councilmember Vita. So I can't say that I was around when we had our previous red light camera program in 2005. I lived in Minneapolis, but I wasn't part of the city. And so I can't speak to all of the feedback that they received at that time. What I can say is that program wasn't designed with the same level of intentionality that we have in this program to make sure we're addressing concerns around fairness and equity. And so we've taken all the best practices that we see around the country on those things, and those are built into the state law and then our local approach. And so I do think that that's made a lot of difference from folks. I think there are many people, I'll just say myself included, that wouldn't support all kinds of pilots on this, right? You have to design it well. And so I think we have, and I think that has improved the feedback that we've gotten over time. So now, as we do more engagement and more informing, and we see it out in the world, there will be new people that don't know that this is happening yet. And my hope is that they understand why we're doing it and how are we working to protect their civil liberties, make sure it's a fair program and equitably implemented. So, and I would also say there's increasing other research coming out too. So for example, it's not uncommon for folks to point to Chicago as an example of a program that has had inequitable outcomes for traffic safety camera. And there is some compelling research around that. There's also a more recent research that shows, in comparison to officers stopping drivers in Chicago, the traffic safety camera program is has much fewer disparities. And so, there's multiple things kind of as people get information on this topic that I think impacts how they think about it. But ultimately, it will be how do we do locally, and are we delivering on our goals that I think will impact how people perceive it.
Yep, and I really do like that approach is, of how we do it. It won't look like Chicago. It won't look like some of the other cities that we know people have problems with. And I appreciate you developing this in a way that I know it can't correct what we previously had back in like 05, 06, but I do want it to be more accepted because I have more people in North that want this now, where back then it was primarily North Side people who were advocating against it, right? Like that was just like, take it out, it's terrible. And now, because of other reasons, people are a lot more accepting of it and welcoming of it. And like, I find myself always having conversations about where the pilot cameras are gonna go and how that's gonna happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that data says and having conversations with people about, I can foresee upcoming conversations about why it's in some areas. Just knowing my ward, I can almost predict like what the data will show and where, there just the areas of higher incidence or whatever. And so I do think that now the conversation is going to shift to people kind of like, this is just a pilot and we only have a few and let's see how this goes versus, 10, 12 years ago, people were just like, get them out forever. Are they watching us? Or what? It was just so many, it was so negative and so much negativity just associated with the cameras. And so thank you for thinking of it in a way that it's our program and it's tailored to Minneapolis.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chowdhury?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Foley, for your presentation. I'll keep my remarks really short because we're doing really great on time and committee today. I just had one question because we had our briefing together, so I feel like covered a lot of bases there, and obviously we have a whole list of presentations that we're going to be expecting from you. I just wanted to get a little bit of an update / read on preparing for partnership with Hennepin County and MnDOT for the pilots, because I know we're able to do it on county and MnDOT roads, but we're going to need to have that partnership and agreement with them.
Yeah, Chair Cashman and Councilmember Chowdhury, you're right, and so we are beginning those conversations with both the county and MnDOT about the potential of partnering for locations on county and MnDOT roadways. And as I said in when I presented in July, we recognize that there are safety opportunities for where cameras might play a role on those roadways, and we're hopeful that we can work out a partnership.
Awesome, thank you. And I'll just close with some comments in case there's folks from the county and the state listening in, or maybe I'll have a ability to pass it on to them. I think the key word for the traffic safety cams pilot is pilot. We really want to see how behavior change works with this program, and thinking about our county roads and our state roads, that's where we see a lot of the challenges, right? Like, I think Lake Street is the highest injury road in the state of Minnesota, and so stepping in together enthusiastically to partner and just see what information, what data we can collect together to see a change in the built environment is going to be really key, and I'm looking forward to seeing our pilot be inclusive of that.
Thank you. Seeing no one else who wants to ask any questions, I'll ask the clerk to receive and file that report. Thank you. Our last item is a report on Your City, Your Streets 2023 Progress Report. And here to present this item is Katie White and Gustavo Seward from Transportation Planning and Programming.
Right. Chair Cashman, council members, hi, my name is Gustav Stewart. I'm an associate transportation planner with Public Works, and I'm here today with Katie White, senior transportation planner, presenting on Your City, Your Streets 2023 Progress Report. So the 20-year streets funding plan was adopted by City Council in 2016 as a framework on how the city will invest in its streets, and with the goal of minimizing the decline in pavement quality across the city. The plan guaranteed a minimum annual funding amount each year for street capital projects. As part of this plan, we are required to report out the projects completed over the last year. This presentation will cover 2023 projects. We also want to highlight that there will be an update to the prioritization section of the 20-year streets funding plan early next year. This will simply update towards the ADA transition plan, the transportation action plan, and the racial equity framework for transportation. The racial equity framework for transportation was adopted in March 2023. As part of this transition into the REF, we are using transportation equity priority scores, also known as TEP, and that will be kind of the way we evaluate and show how we're investing in equity priority areas for transportation projects. TEP incorporates demographics such as race, income, and other transportation elements such as vehicle availability, population density, and commute time. Since the adoption of the 20-year streets funding plan, the city has completed 251 miles of general street work. This is more mileage than it would take to drive from Minneapolis to Fargo. 73 of those miles were in equity priority areas, a little over the distance from here to St. Cloud. While 19% of the streets are located in equity priority areas, 29% of this work has occurred in these areas. The city has focused a lot of these street improvements on improving pedestrian and bicycle safety. 38 miles of bicycle facilities were added or upgraded. Over 5,000 ADA pedestrian ramps have been upgraded. 63 miles of improved pedestrian realm has been installed. This includes sidewalks and boulevards. And over 1,500 curb extensions have been made throughout the city. Looking at 23 accomplishments alone for streets, 99 intersections were upgraded, which may include traffic circles, curb extensions, and other things like that. 43 signal upgrades, 23 miles of general street work, and 2 miles in equity priority areas. These numbers change year by year depending on where investments in transportation projects are happening. So getting into a little bit of the fun part of the presentation with pictures, I'll go through several different projects that were constructed in 2023. So this one is the Bryant Avenue Phase 2 project, which is a reconstruction project that included a sidewalk level two-way bikeway, substantial green stormwater infrastructure, curb extensions, raised crosswalks, and overall created a safer and calmer place for people walking, biking, and driving. This is part of the Upper Harbor Terminal project. Specifically, this is Dowling Avenue North from the River Parkway to Lindale Avenue North. It includes a shared use path, signal upgrades, and better connects North Minneapolis to the Upper Harbor Terminal development project. This is another part of the Upper Harbor Terminal project. Specifically, we're looking at 33rd Avenue North under construction, includes a roundabout that connects to that parkway. 37th Avenue Northeast was a project in collaboration with City of Columbia Heights, includes filling of a sidewalk gap, and then also addition of a shared use path. Park Lane was part of our residential reconstruction program. On the picture on the right shows an example of green stormwater infrastructure in the city. This looks different everywhere throughout the city. Minnehaha Avenue was the concrete rehabilitation program, covered Minnehaha Avenue and included panel work on the sidewalks as well as the street. William Berry Parkway was resurfaced as part of the city's Parkway paving program in collaboration with the Park Board. In 2023, the city resurfaced this road. If you go out today, it's actually going to look a little different because of that red chip seal that was actually installed this year that you see across all parkways. The next few slides will talk a little bit about cooperative projects. This was a Hennepin County-led project for Osseo Road from 44th Avenue to 49th Avenue. It included pedestrian safety improvements, ADA ramps, and a shared use path. This project was part of the Southwest Light Rail project for last mile connections and included the reconstruction of Glenwood Avenue. This is a part of the Beeline project and Lake Street pedestrian improvements. So we partnered with Metro Transit and Hennepin County on this one. It includes a designated bus lane that increases speed and operations for transit operations. It included moving from 4 general vehicle lanes traffic to 2 general vehicle lanes to improve safety, and included strategic pedestrian medians. So this part was east of Hiawatha, and the remaining portion is being completed this year. This is a Hennepin County-led project for Cedar Avenue and 42nd Street, included a safer intersection such as curb extensions and a protected bikeway design. This is a MnDOT intersection for the I-394 and 3rd Avenue and Washington Street, and included safety improvements for vehicles and pedestrians. This is another MnDOT project, a bridge redeck across I-94, and we also included improvements to the bicycle space in this as well. And I think this is the last cooperative project, but another bridge project looking at this that took a few years, specifically Central Avenue Bridge, that now includes street pedestrian lighting, bike lanes on both sides, and sidewalk improvements as well. So in terms of city bridges, this one was underneath 29th Street along the Midtown Greenway. And you can see on the picture on the left, it's during construction, the picture on right, when it was completed. Bridge number 9 has been receiving several repair work over kind of a few years, and this kind of highlights, and that's the one that connects between University of Minnesota and kind of the downtown Minneapolis area in the Dingy Town Greenway. And this is kind of a picture that highlight a lot of different traffic signal and intersection safety treatments that we make throughout the city. This specifically was done on Hennepin Avenue. There are a few different intersections there, but we make signal upgrades and intersection curb improvements throughout the city that improve safety. So looking at specifically on pedestrian elements, so obviously there's a lot of pedestrian elements in the street projects, but we also have projects that are specifically designated standalone pedestrian safety projects. But overall, there's been 8.5 miles of improved pedestrian realm, 275 curb extensions, 1 sidewalk lap closed, 8.5 miles of pedestrian lighting, 6.4 miles of safety conversions, so that includes reducing travel lanes or reducing the lane widths to improve safety outcomes, and over 1,200 ADA ramp upgrades. So our Vision Zero program looks at doing proactive safety treatments. This is an example of one completed in 2023, a median ramp at 35th Street and 15th Avenue. And this is another retrofit example of a raised crosswalk at Monroe Street and 13th Avenue Northeast. Our ADA ramp replacement program completes ADA ramp improvements throughout the city. Specifically, it takes in community feedback and then also uses our ADA transition plan evaluation metrics to kind of prioritize which ADA ramps are being improved. And this is an example of one. Lindale Avenue North receives several improvements and intersection improvements along the corridor. It included pedestrian mediums to make it safer to cross, and then also allows for slower vehicles along that road. Future work is planned on additional intersections for Lindale Avenue. The City View Safe Routes to School project included traffic calming and also improvements. In the picture on the slide, there includes an example of a raised crosswalk that was mid-construction. In terms of bicycle improvements throughout the city in 2023, 6.6 miles of bicycle facilities were installed. About 5 miles of those were protected, and about 1 mile of that 6.5 miles were in equity priority areas. An example of one that we completed is the resurfacing and bikeway project on 2nd Street, Mill City area. This is an example of how we coordinate between our resurfacing and our bikeway projects to make an overall improvements and make the funding go farther. It has a 2-way bikeway and reduce the travel lanes to produce safer outcomes as well. And this is another example of that resurfacing and bikeway coordination. This just involved restriping, but it include kind of additional space in a buffered bicycle lane. So with that, I will hand over the presentation to Katie White, who will talk more about the status of the 20-year streets funding plan.
Chair Cashman and members of the committee, my name is Katie White. I am a senior transportation planner with Minneapolis Public Works. A lot has changed since the 20-year streets funding plan was adopted. In the past several years, we have adopted the Transportation Action Plan, Street Design Guide, updated our Chapter 54 Stormwater Ordinance to be inclusive of street projects. We have adopted the Racial Equity Framework for Transportation, the Vision Zero Action Plan, ADA Transition Plan, and have established a new ordinance with the Park Board regarding their parkway system. Over the same period of time, consistent themes have emerged across the transportation industry and have also become part of the reality of doing our work. These include significant inflation in materials costs, especially steel, which heavily impacts traffic signal replacement. Ongoing investment in facilities by agencies other than the city, which come with a cost participation requirement, which comes from our regular funding sources. Increases in this spending reduce the amount of funding that can be put towards local projects like those Gustav just showed. One of many consequences here is that our asphalt resurfacing program has decreased. Sometimes we are doing 25 to 33 miles of asphalt resurfacing a year, and next year we are anticipating about 8 miles of asphalt resurfacing. The 20-year streets funding plan has helped to curb the decline in our pavement quality. Without this infusion of funding, this chart would look even more pronounced. Put another way, the number of street miles in poor and very poor condition has increased, and those in good and fair condition has decreased since 2017. This chart shows the same information as 2 slides ago, but goes back further to 2002. It also projects forward, showing the likely pavement condition if there are no changes to funding levels. Starting in 2030, the average pavement condition in Minneapolis is anticipated to be very poor. On October 11th, Director Jenny Hager presented the mayor's recommended capital budget request to Public Works. Included in that presentation was a discussion of additional net debt bond capacity to help us maintain the existing road system. This capacity is identified for the years 2026, 2027, and 2028 only. The recommendations include maintaining historical funding levels for small programs that had been reduced due to funding constraints, including funding to work towards 25 miles of asphalt resurfacing and 2.5 miles of concrete rehabilitation annually, doubling our core service programs such as alleys, bridge maintenance, and ADA ramps to adjust for inflation, and funding high-priority bike network gaps near recently completed or planned capital projects. I should note that this proposal does not include new funding for additional reconstruction projects. The funding recommendations are primarily for maintenance and spot improvement programs. Public Works has produced an incredible amount of work over the past several years with the help of the 20-year streets funding plan, including the highlights that Gustav showed earlier. We have also established meaningful policy changes that have influenced the physical form of our city. Pavement quality conditions have declined and are projected to decline further. Our investment decisions have been made with an eye to a balanced transportation system, keeping in mind maintaining the current system while also providing safe, reliable access for everyone. Our goals look different today than they did in 2017. We now make decisions about the right of way, that are informed by our needs for climate, sustainability, equity, mode shift, and safety reasons. Thank you for the time this afternoon. I also had a thank you slide. Gustav and I are happy to stand for questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stewart and Ms. White. Yeah, the photos really bring all this work to light. So thank you for providing all those visuals. Definitely brings me back to 2014, being an intern with Sierra Club, advocating for this funding, and now seeing it, 10 years on, and like all the changes that have been made and all the impacts that we feel in our neighborhoods. I just have a question about how we are measuring the success about our transportation action plan, because, our goal was to mode shift from 3 to 5 trips taken by walking, biking, and transit, and basically like doubling. Oh, we did? We lost count. Are they coming back? Oh, we have to take a brief recess. Thanks. I see. Sorry about that. We are taking a brief recess because we lost captioning.
Why the last slide wasn't showing in full screen view for anybody. It's weird. I'll never be Jen Swanson.
We are back from the recess. The captioning technology is back up and running. Okay, thank you for the presentation. Yeah, my question was about our mode shift goals in the Transportation Action Plan. If you have any data about how these investments have contributed towards achieving those goals that we set, 5 years ago now.
Sure. Chair Cashman and members of the committee, at the next meeting of this group on November 7th, there will be a report back on the progress of the Transportation Action Plan. So
Nice.
I do not have that information today, but 14 days from now.
Looking forward to that. Thank you. Thanks. Any other questions or comments from committee members? All right. Seeing none, we will ask the clerk to receive and file that report. Thank you so much for coming in today. And without objection, we stand adjourned.